What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Take 3 podcast here on a Tuesday evening, just off of a Monday Night Football. A little bit of a snooze fest in New York, to be honest. Cooper Rush, though, stays undefeated as a starter. Brian Daboll's team finally loses. Looks like the end of the Kenny Golladay era in New York, right? I think he played 2 snaps last night. It's kind of been rocky road, obviously. Not a guy Daboll wanted or brought in. He was there before, and looks like his tenure is over. Shitty snooze fest Sunday night as well, 11-10. As you can see in the graphic, we got guys stepping out of the end zone like Dan Orlovsky. Pretty embarrassing. I mean, I really thought we sat here last week and we're like, dude, the 49ers might be a better team with Jimmy G. And then this shit happens and we sit here and we say -1.5, hammer it, 49ers. And like I say every week, people come on here and look dumb. But that's not to say the Broncos didn't look good. They look like shit, and heck, it still sucks. The Birds, though, man, the Eagles look like a legit team. They balled out. The Jags look like a legit team. Trevor Lawrence, obviously, the rib injury with Justin Herbert and all that stuff. A couple other injuries with LA. I was about to say San Diego, but the Jags look like a real deal. I mean, how are you feeling coming off of week 3? Some surprising results. Couple of upsets were mixed in there. So how are you feeling coming off week 3?
Kind of 50-50 spread bet wise on the season. 100% in and super excited about the Eagles. Like, we're going to talk about it, but I haven't been this happy about the Eagles in a while. And then the Sunday night game, we said hammer the Niners. And then I think we made a comment after, like, watch the Broncos 100% win this game now. And of course that happened in a terrible 11-10. So, to be honest, definitely some outcomes I didn't expect, but the way the games went, my opinions don't change on any of the big teams that lost. Still believe in the top guys.
For sure. Is it bad that, like, the best thing that happened on that play is he stepped out of the end zone because the dude chucked the pick six, like he threw the ball right to, I think it was Bradley Chubb. So it's like the best thing that happened on that play was he stepped out of the end zone for a safety. But yeah, I mean, way to go, Niners. 1.5. Yeah. Okay, let's move on. First topic on the slate, if it'll let me flip over. Here we go. Big upset early, but not really big upset, I guess. I mean, it was surprising. Buffalo was 5.5-point favorite going into Miami. Tua gets rocked, concussed, goes into the locker room at halftime. He comes out probably with the concussion, the CTE, the brain damage, and they somehow end up beating the Buffalo Bills. They improved to 3-0. Shocking result. Buffalo kind of handcuffed themselves. That ending was hilarious. They run out of time. Ken Dorsey's slamming papers. The other offensive and defensive assistants are looking at him like he's a maniac. What do you make of this? You already alluded to, you don't really change your stance on Buffalo. I mean, I'm with you. Buffalo is still the team to beat in the AFC. I would still say it's just one of those freak games. It was about 150 degrees on the field. Guys were cramping up, exhausted on both sides. They ran about 90 plays. So what do you got? Miami, I mean, it's good for them. 3-0. They go to Cincinnati short week. But I mean, is Miami legit?
Yeah. So for the Buffalo side, it was kind of an outlier, right? Missed a field goal. They gave Miami a short touchdown, and they still probably should have won the game. They ran way more offensive plays. They got a ton of yards, could move the ball real easily, couldn't really score. I alluded to it earlier. It doesn't really change my opinion about the Bills. I think they're still the best team in the AFC. They'll win the AFC East still. I'm pretty confident in that, but I'm very impressed with Miami at 3-0. They could easily be sitting at 1-2 when you look at the last 2 weeks, this Bills game and the Ravens game, that huge fourth quarter comeback. It showed a lot. They did it back-to-back weeks. Yeah, it's not exactly how you want to do it, right? You want to put together better games, start to finish, in different aspects for those 2 weeks. But you got to be impressed with Miami, new coaching staff, the resilience. The free agent additions have helped a lot. The offense has been nice. And I'm really not surprised about the defense. I think the defense has had good showings the last 2 or 3 seasons. They've been underrated because the team as a whole hasn't been great. And I think they finally have a good offense to match with that defense. Even though I do think it was kind of an outlier result that they actually beat Buffalo and just kind of the way that game unfolded, I'm still encouraged with Miami. It's going to be interesting to see what they do on a short week after playing, especially the defense, after playing 90-plus snaps in that heat to go travel to Cincinnati. I think that's a really tough spot. But I'm definitely impressed with Miami. They show that they're the real deal. Pretty confident they're going to make the playoffs. And it would not surprise me if they do a Cincinnati Bengals thing. You can go kind of far in the playoffs. I would not pick them. But I'll say this: they have all the talent in the world to beat anybody on any given Sunday.
Yeah, I'm still riding with Buffalo. They get stepped at the goal line, missing field goals, a lot of plays, right? It even taxes your offense when you run that many plays when it's 100 degrees on the field. But yeah, I mean, Miami, they were impressive. Their defense was able to annoy Josh Allen a bit. The fact that he threw the ball 63 times is insane. 63 throws for 400 yards, 2 touchdowns. But yeah, I mean, you got to be impressed with Miami to start 3-0, new coaching staff. Nobody could have predicted that they would have beat the Ravens and the Bills in back-to-back weeks. Credit to their doctors. They get guys out there with concussions. They somehow clear the protocol. That's scary. We'll see the repercussions of that. But yeah, I mean, good for Miami, 3-0. They need it. Big game coming up Thursday night, headed to take on Joe Burrow. And, the Bengals are hungry at 1-2 to get back to 500. Let's move on. We got the Chiefs. Obviously, they could not close the deal in Indianapolis. The Colts, 20-17, I think the final was. You see a little argument with Mahomes and Eric Bieniemy going on. I don't know why Bieniemy doesn't even call plays. It's Andy Reid. But I mean, this is kind of similar to the Bills thing. My stance on the Chiefs hasn't changed. There's 1 or 2 games a year, maybe even 3 games a year where teams, I mean, they're 5.5 point favorites. You assume, they're going to roll in and beat them. And then some fluke weird stuff happens and they lose the game, right? That's why when predicting these records, it's impossible preseason to really predict these records. And that's why I always try to factor that in with some of these teams, that they're going to lose 1 or 2 games a year that you expect them to fully win. So, I mean, that's kind of my analysis on that. What do you see out of the Chiefs? Any worries? I mean, are the Colts going to crawl out of the basement? Are they suddenly a real football team now?
I honestly don't have much faith in the Colts. I really did preseason, but Matt Ryan does not look that good. I don't think they're climbing out of anything. This was an outlier finish. There's just sometimes where better teams just straight up lose. They're clearly having a lot of kicking issues. Amendola is not the answer. They missed Bucker. They would have easily won if their special teams was ready to go and they had a kicker. The Eric Bieniemy thing arguing is, I guess, interesting. I don't think there's really much there. LaShawn McCoy said on Instagram that's all Eric Bieniemy does. Of course, he was on the Super Bowl team that won with them. I just thought that was funny. Him saying that doesn't mean anything either. I don't put a lot of stock in this week for the Chiefs. I think they just reset. They go out next Sunday. They probably get another W. It's just like the Bills thing. It doesn't really change my opinion at all. Sometimes the better team loses. They make mistakes, accidents. I think Indianapolis is clearly not as good of a team against Kansas City. Weirdly enough, the one time they went to Indianapolis was a few years back, Sunday Night Football, and Jacoby Brissett was the quarterback, and they got a real ugly win there against Kansas City as well. So I don't know. Maybe it's just one of those matchups. I think it's just an outlier thing. I don't put a lot of stock into it. I got nothing but faith in the Chiefs. I think at the end of the year, they'll be one of the best teams, one of the top teams there, and I don't think the Colts will make the playoffs. So.
Yep. I mean, you're spot on. Took dudes missing extra points, dudes missing field goals, and guys that can't catch punts to lose a game on the road. And yeah, I mean, that's just how the cookie crumbles. Sometimes Let Justin Reed kick. I don't know why. I mean, that dude has a boot. I don't see
it's
why
better than Amendola.
They do it for shits and gigs, but it's like Justin Reed's probably a better kicker than a lot of these dudes that are out there on that are actually starting kickers on Sunday. To be honest, the guy has a boot. But I mean, Amendola got cut. That shows how good he is. We'll see where they go, but they definitely miss Butker. And I don't know, I guess find a punt returner not named Sky Moore that can actually hold on to the football back there. But let's move on. Monday Night Football, as we said, snooze fest. Who gives a shit about the Cowboys? The Giants had a shot to go 3-0 and probably become one of the worst 3-0 teams we've seen. But Cooper Rush, he stays undefeated as a starter. Defeated the Bengals. And obviously defeats the Giants, and then dating back to last year when they went into Minnesota and he beat the Vikings. He's kind of holding the ship together there, right? I mean, Dak, I see he's trying to rush back. He's getting stitches out of the thumb. He was rumoring next week, probably 2 weeks or 3 weeks out still, I'd imagine. But I mean, I guess you got to give credit to Cooper Rush and that defense, right? I mean, last week when I was talking about the defense was able to give Daniel Jones some trouble. Micah Parsons throwing left tackles and guards to the ground like it's nothing. That guy is an animal. But I mean, do you give Cooper Rush? I got to give him a little bit of credit. At least I hate the Cowboys, but I'll give him a little bit of credit because he could have came out and just shit the bed and lose every game. And they're sitting 0-3 right now, but he's found ways to just be good enough to not cost them games.
Yeah, I have to reluctantly give Cooper Rush credit. He came out I really expected like really bad performances, not Monday night, but last Sunday against Cincinnati. He came out and showed that he belongs in the league at least. Like, I'm not saying he's great or anything, but he got 2 wins. He managed the game well. I think he's earning himself a contract for a different team in the following year. I think someone's going to take a chance on him. So kudos to him for potentially earning a new contract. So good for him. But I mean, it's nothing super impressive. He's game managing. They're playing a poor Giants team. I don't really care about their record. I still don't think they're that good. I think with the new coaching staff, there's a lot of improvements, but Daniel Jones really limits your team's upside. But man, the Cowboys defense is very good. Again, Micah Parsons, just a game wrecker, just an animal. I think New York dropped back 37 or 38 times, and Daniel Jones was pressured 27 of them. That's very impressive. They basically did not have time or a clean pocket all night. So shout out to them. They keep their season alive. I'm assuming Dak will be back in a couple weeks. That Sunday night game against Philadelphia in, I think, 2, maybe 3 weeks, actually. I expect him to be on the field for that one. I'm excited for that. But, yeah, Dallas kept their season alive. I don't expect much out of New York, even though they had a good start. And Cooper Rush was okay. I got to give him credit. He managed the game well. And maybe Jerry's right. Maybe there's a QB controversy brewing.
Yeah, I don't know about QB controversy, but yeah, he's good enough to, as you said, manage the game, not throw them out of the game, which a lot of backup quarterbacks do, throw their teams out. And it always helps when you get production out of Tony Pollard, 13 for 105, and Zeke, 15 carries, 73, and a touchdown, right? That helps with the defense going crazy against a bad Giants team, as you mentioned. So there's the Cowboys spotlight for this week. And let's keep it going. We had the Jags 38-10 W over the Chargers. Obviously, the Chargers are hampered with massive amounts of injuries. Keenan Allen was out. Herbert was playing with the rib cartilage thing, got the injection. So who knows? Really, he's not at 100%. I believe Joey Bosa went out. So, I mean, Slater. I was about to say Staley. Rashawn Slater, tackle out. So, I mean, it's typical Chargers football, right? The whole team's getting hurt. And yeah, are the Jags the real deal though? I mean, I'm impressed with Doug. He's got a real program. I'm actually happy for Trevor Lawrence to get a real head coach after last year. And that team, I mean, they literally tanked the year, get the first pick, get Trayvon Walker, get Devin Lloyd at linebacker, and then they get a real coach, pair him with Trevor Lawrence. And I mean, they look damn good out the gates. But yeah, what are you feeling on the Jags? And is it just another typical Chargers year where injuries and expectations overwhelm them? And could this be the end of Brandon Staley?
Yeah, I want to address the Chargers thing first real quick. It's unfortunately feels like a classic Chargers season, right? They stack so much talent on paper, and all of a sudden there's a ton of injuries. I do think if they miss the playoffs and they have a poor finish, that Brandon Staley's probably gone. And that would be the number one coaching vacates. Like, everyone would want that job, number one vacancy if it does open. Maybe someone like a Sean Payton would find that interesting enough to return. I just think if they get like a perfect coach in there with that team, they could be so special. And who knows, I'm not going to write them off quite yet, but with these injuries and everything, it doesn't look great considering the Chargers' history. But to the Jags, I do think they're the real deal. Trevor Lawrence was like the number one rated prospect since Andrew Luck. Everyone said he's going to be a surefire thing. And obviously he didn't have a great rookie year, but I cannot emphasize enough how terrible Urban Meyer is. That wasn't a real coaching regime. That wasn't a real like NFL offense. That was just a terrible situation start to finish. And then you bring in who I think is a very good coach in Doug Peterson, Super Bowl winner. He knows how to handle quarterbacks, whether it was in Green Bay, Philadelphia, his own career as a backup quarterback. He knows what he's doing offensively. We're seeing what Trevor Lawrence has the potential to do. He clearly has all the ability in the world, and it's exciting to see. I think the Jags are the real deal. They have some really good key pieces. I actually think they steal their division this year because nobody really picked them going in. I certainly did not. And I'm rooting for the Jags. Outside of next Sunday against the Eagles, I like the Jags. I like Doug Peterson. I'm a big fan of his, obviously. I'm pretty biased there. But I think Trevor Lawrence is the real deal. And I don't think we should be surprised at all because he had a bad rookie year. To me, he was set up to fail because of Urban Meyer. So, like, he has so much talent on paper. I think we're just scratching the surface with the Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence. And it's going to be exciting to see where they go in the future.
Yeah, I mean, Urban Meyer blows. Yeah, credit to Doug, right? Doug comes in there. I had no ill will towards Doug when he got fired, and Philly, it just didn't work out. Things don't work out. But yeah, I mean, the Chargers, they're kind of, it's every year with them, right? They have all the talent, they have everything, and then Staley can't coach last year. He's going for it on fourth down like it's Madden. People are getting hurt, and then this year it's just people are getting hurt, and then interceptions on the 1 yard line against the Chiefs. And that's where they're looking at. But yeah, credit to the Jags. I mean, James Robinson coming off the Achilles, 17 carries, 100 yards, and a
Yeah.
touchdown. It seems like he's really kind of took a stranglehold on the lead back, which is kind of, it's, I mean, I wouldn't say surprising. I thought it'd be closer to a split, but it clearly shows that that Travis Etienne is not Doug's guy, and they maybe regret that pick, wasting that. I think it was a second round pick last year, right? That was a typical Urban Meyer selection, and it clearly didn't work out. But James Robinson's balling out, and yeah, Trevor Lawrence looks like the real deal. You got to be excited if you're a Jags fan, sitting at 2-0 or 2-1, and I like them to I like them to win the South. They're the most impressive team down there. Obviously both of us, neither of us took them in the preview, but it's hard to ignore them now. They just look that good compared to the rest of the teams in that division.
Last comment. I think Doug Peterson's got a real chance at coach of the year, especially if they win the division, make the playoffs.
For sure. But too bad he's going to lose it to Nick Sirianni.
Yes, sir.
And last thing on the docket, offensive struggle down in Tampa Bay, some delay of games at the end. It was just, I mean, obviously on the script, dude, the Packers came out of the gates flying, right? They looked good out of the gates on the script. Aaron Rodgers was slinging the rock to Romeo Doubs and just having a good old time. He hit Allen Lazard for a touchdown. They had the running backs going, but I mean, it was basically what we broke it down to be in the pregame. Not enough weapons out there. You can't trot out there with Cole Beasley, Brashad Perryman, Scotty Miller, Kyle Rudolph, guys like that, and play a good defense. So I mean, what do you make out here? Do you take anything away from the Bucs? And are you looking up on Rodgers? It was a typical Rodgers regular season win, man. I told you that's why I was rolling with them last week, because it's a typical. I'm telling you, if this game was played in January, 10 out of 10 times, I'm taking Tom Brady and the Bucs. But it's a classic regular season. I almost hope they rematch in the playoffs, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think you pretty much nailed it in your pick / previews, the regular season thing. My takeaways from this game, I don't put a lot of stock into this game. If I was going to look into it, I can't put any stock in the Tampa Bay thing. Their defense looks elite and legit. Again, they clearly are a Super Bowl caliber defense. And then with Tom Brady, he doesn't have his weapons, right? And it's still number 12. It's still Tom Brady back there. I just have to assume and give him the benefit of the doubt that like the offense will get it together once they're all healthy on the field and be elite as well. So it's like I can't say anything negative about the Bucs. I know they lost. I know the offense didn't look great, but I just got to assume Tom gets his weapons back and they get into a groove. They're going to be pretty lethal. But with that being said, it's kind of the opposite for me and Aaron Rodgers. He came out hot, and then they were driving down the field about to take a 21-3 lead. Aaron Jones gets lit up by Vita Vea, which shout out to Todd Bowles, and they got Vita Vea dropping back in coverage. What a crazy idea, but it forced a fumble, right? So it worked well. But like Aaron didn't, and the offense didn't really recover post fumble. They didn't get really much going after that drive. So that was kind of concerning to me. It's hard for me to see this Green Bay offense fire on all cylinders for like 60 minutes, 4 quarters of football, unless they're playing like the Chicago Bears, right? So like I still don't have a ton of faith in this Green Bay offense. They're clearly getting better week to week, but I don't know. It's going to be tough. To give them credit, they won the game and they played an incredibly tough Bucs defense. So they're clearly getting better, but I got much more faith in the Bucs moving forward than I do the Packers. The Packers offense still worries me.
Yeah, I mean, only one of these teams is getting Mike Evans back next week, which
Yeah.
should help the Bucs. Yeah, I mean, it's the classic Aaron Rodgers, 1 turnover, shut it down, not taking any more risks, tucking the tail. I mean, we watched, we've seen it for years now. Yeah, I don't know how far the Green Bay's offense can take them, right? The defense is pretty damn good when it's there, but I mean, the offense is going to have to hold up their end of the bargain, and you can't just shut it down after a turnover, right? I mean, you don't see Tom Brady shut it down after a turnover. They figure out a way to keep the truck moving. But I mean, yeah, they don't have anybody really to break down a defense. Even as you saw out of the gates, it was kind of the short, quick passes, the screens, the runs. It was nothing that was really like gouging the Bucs secondary and torching them. And then back to the Bucs, dude, the defense is still, it's legit, right? It's scary that I keep saying this every week, that if the worst part of the offense is them throwing the ball with Tom Brady, you got a pretty damn good football team that all you got to do is get your weapons back. Hopefully Godwin can come back soon. Julio, probably not. I think he had like a PCL tear or something, or partial tear. So, I mean, it's just every year with Julio. But getting Mike Evans back next week will be huge for them. And yeah, I'm not taking anything away from Tom Brady and the Bucs as long as he's back there playing quarterback. Let's move on. Week 3 spread pick results. As you see the records on the screen, 23, 21, and 1 out of the gates through 3 weeks. That'll probably change come next week. And then a little bit of the slow start, under 500 on your end. Any of these games that you're kind of annoyed about?
Chiefs Bills. I mean, as a whole, I know they straight up lost, but they looked like they were going to cover like close to the end of the third, and then both of those games went the other way at like the same time. Those two was kind of annoying. The Bucs -1. I mean, 2-point conversion to tie is what it is. I'm not crazy about a 20-25 start. Obviously, week 1 was really bad. Week 2 and 3 have been decent. It goes around. I'm not worried about in the long run. Got to have a good week to get above 500. But I haven't lost like crazy bet wise. I put in the spreads I like, so I'll take it and run with it. There's definitely a few that I regret through 3 weeks, but 20 and 25, plenty of room for opportunity and improvement, and I think I'll get there.
Yeah, there's only one I'm annoyed about. Niners -1.5. Yeah,
That's fair.
It's just as simple as that. We hyped it up. Yeah, I guess the Chiefs one I could say. Bills won 5.5. I mean, we were just kind of rolling with the Bills just because they're the Bills. They had that much talent. But that's not really one that I'm super upset. But yeah, I mean, it's literally just the 49ers one to be that embarrassing on Sunday Night Football against Hackett and Russell Wilson. It disappointed me. Any other kind of games that caught your eye this weekend? Obviously, the Eagles look legit, at least for a half. I still need to see a second half offensive performance to get, super hype about them. But I mean, a great start, 3-0. Jalen Hurts once again looks like the real deal. The defense beats up Carson Wentz. What does Carson Wentz do? He holds the football too long and he gets smoked. Some fans say only 2 of the sacks were his fault. I got a buddy who's a Commanders fan, said only 2 of the sacks for Wentz's fault. I don't know, man. The guy takes 10-step drops like it's Pee-wee football. But yeah, any games other than the ones that we kind of talked about that caught your eye before we wrap up?
I'll say this about Carson Wentz and the sacks. The Commanders scored 8 points and we sacked them 9 times. So that's a pretty rough outing. I would say the Raiders against the Titans. The Titans have not looked good. They finally put together a game, and the Raiders are now sitting at 0-3 in the AFC West. I know it's a little early, but it definitely feels like the Raiders' playoff hopes and their season is already over, honestly.
Yeah, the Raiders. Yeah, Josh McDaniels has not been impressive out of the gates. Only one I got other than the Eagles is the Lions. I felt like they had that game in the bag and they literally let Kirk Cousins steal it from them. I'm a big Dan Campbell guy. He's got good energy. It just sucks to see them drop to 1-2 when they should have been 2-1. But hey, they're not a finished product, right? They're still a year or 2 away. They still need to get a guy like Jameson Williams back, hopefully sooner rather than later. But it's just tough when you think they have a game in the bag to let up 14 in the fourth and blow that game.
Ravens-esque, right? Shout out to anybody that bet the Steelers or teased them on Thursday night like I did, who got the rough bad beat, Steelers +10, and then fumbled in the end zone for a touchdown for the Browns in the game. Bad beat to start the week. It set the tone poorly.
For sure. I think that'll do it. I got one more shout out. Mac Hollins, wide receiver 1 in Las Vegas. Why'd they even bring in Devontae Adams when you got a guy like Mac Hollins? But yeah, that's going to do it for this week 3 recap. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, comment, drop any feedback that you have in the comments section. Add us on Twitter if you have any other feedback that we could add or remove from these recaps and previews each week. As always, Spotify link will be in the description of this video if you're audio only. And yeah, we'll be back to cover week 4, the primetime games, the big matchups in week 4.